guys, it's Ken again, and today we're reviewing to the original Season 1, Episode 8, The River in Reverse. I was going to upload this video last night, but I thought I'd rewatch it because it was, I wasn't really, there was something else I was doing at the time, and I wasn't really paying attention to it, so I watched it again, and this was another great episode. I really loved it. I think this show, they can't really have a bad episode. I think they're doing a really great job with that, and I definitely really enjoyed this episode. There was a lot that I really liked about it. So basically, the episode starts out where we see Rebecca is lamenting over the whole thing that she should have never came back to New Orleans. She's singing this confessional, and, he sins to Father Kieran. She says she's been alive for 1,000 years and is overdue for some absolution. And we see that she just basically says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." And she's conspired against her own blood, and that even God can't save her. So I'm thinking, why is she so upset? Well, we go to 24 hours earlier to see exactly why she's so upset. So Klaus is drinking from a human house guest. It looks like Cammy that he has drained into a crystal goblet. He asks Rebecca if she's heard from Elijah. He tells her Elijah is suffering from the hybrid's bite and is sweating it out in the swamp. And she says she's keeping her silent so she doesn't get bit herself. He tells her that Elijah made bold and ugly assertions about his intentions toward his child and he deserves to suffer for a day or two. Basically, though, where Rebecca sides is Marcel. That's where she's staying. She's siding with Marcel, and that's where Rebecca is staying. So Marcel, we see he's going to introduce Tyler to the Daywalkers, and basically Tyler just wants to talk about Haley's child and how, how Klaus became a hybrid, and about Haley, who Klaus is now not, who has a child and everything, and he tells him that Klaus turned werewolves into hybrids, himself included, and he basically says that they were faster and stronger than wolves or vampires, and that their bite could take down a vampire. And he tells him that the problem was that they sired to Klaus and had to obey. So this is basically what happened. Then Rebecca comes in and she basically tells them that that's what Klaus does. He punishes people for betrayal, and she tells them to carry on, and says she's fascinated. So then Rebecca, wants to continue everything, and I really like this scene. This is just really cool. Rebecca kind of takes over, and before they can even talk, she goes over, and they're ready to talk to her and everything, but she goes over and she snaps Tyler's neck, and she says, there will be no talking about harming the baby. Because she's not interested in that. She's interested about killing Klaus. She's not interested about trying to kill this baby or whatever, so I'm glad they're not really showing that, but I was kind of upset that they killed Tyler. Because Tyler was a very big character, and they didn't really show a lot of that. I mean, he's not really important on the show. But I do think that, I don't know if he's temporarily dead, or if he's just going to stay dead. He's a hybrid, so I don't think he can die, but we'll have to see, I guess. So, basically, Marcel is tossing away his body and everything, and he asks Rebecca where she wants him, and she says to take him anywhere until they have Klaus taken care of. And he asks him about trying to use Divina. Basically, that's what it is. He asked her about trying to use Divina and to help trap Klaus. And by the way, Divina was nowhere to be found in this episode. Marcel says they can't because she can barely control her magic. And if they can't use the witch, they'll need his most powerful warriors, which is basically what they decided to do. So, now, this part was kind of interesting. Klaus finds Josh, but it actually don't know that Josh is working with Marcel. He's also trying to work with Marcel, because it kind of seemed like he was spying on Klaus, so that was definitely interesting to see. And he says that Marcel is surrounded by his Daywalkers and is on high alert that he heard him arguing with Diego about clearing out their headquarters for a date that night, and Klaus tells Josh that he did good work, and that when he takes over the city, he can have a daylight ring, but tells him if he ever betrays him, he will make sure that he spends all of his eternal life suffering and wishing for death to come. And then Josh basically says, adios, Klaus. So, Klaus basically, this is the one where Klaus is pretty much, he goes to Marcel's courtyard and everything. He tells him he has something of his that he wants back. And Marcel holds out the dagger, because that's what he wants. He wants to kill him with the dagger. And Rebecca walks out, takes the dagger. Klaus asks, oh, what is this? And Marcel whistles, and then the courtyard fills up with daywalkers. And Klaus does not feel threatened at all. Because basically he says if they think they can subdue him, they can't, because, one, he does make a good point here, because this is possible. One, he's a hybrid. Two, he's a vampire. Three, he cannot be killed. He cannot be killed because he's an original, and originals, as we know, cannot be killed. So, that was definitely very interesting to see, and then there are like 100 there, so... eventually, though, it seemed like no one's going to attack him, but then this huge fight starts, and it's pretty big what happens there. And he basically Klaus just like brutally slaughtering everyone. It was really awesome to see. Because honestly, I really like getting to see Klaus do some really good killing. It was really awesome to see that. And eventually, it looks like he's about to kill Marcel. And Rebecca says, you gotta give him that. You gotta give him the, you gotta give him the key, or else he's going to just kill everybody. So that's exactly what he does, because Klaus has said before, whoever takes this coin gets to live. So Marcel takes the coin, and then he hands Klaus the key to his kingdom, and he tells Klaus that it's his, basically. So that was definitely very interesting to see. I really liked that whole scene. That was a very intense scene, but I really enjoyed it. And eventually, though, we get to probably the biggest scene, where basically now, Marcel basically tells him that he can live in his, he's going to live where Marcel lives and everything. And eventually, the biggest thing is that when Klaus finds out that Elijah and Haley are getting so close, he basically just snaps, because he says his child is going to grow up calling Elijah father, and I really loved his performance in the scene, because you saw that, one, he's very upset, but he's also very sad, because he really wants to be a good father of this child. He wants to father this child, and he just wants to be a good father to this child. And he tells him that he's been working hard. He says he's brought them here to take back their ancestral home, and he didn't want Rebecca to make the same mistakes with Marcel that she had before. And, he says that basically, instead of them believing he could want the best for his child, that they sided with the enemy, and he's really upset about this. He's crying. He tells him that he has his home back, and he's going to live there. So he tells them that they can stay there together. He hands them the dagger and walks out. So then he goes outside. He tells Haley that she's coming with him, and, she asks why should she, and he basically says that right now the child's the only thing he cares about, and if she doesn't go with him, that he's just going to kill her. So this is basically all he cares about. All he cares about now is fathering that child. That's what matters to him. That's what's important to him. And you know what? I really like seeing this. I really like seeing that he actually wants to help this child, and I really like seeing that. So now basically he's keeping her at his old house, which is definitely going to be very interesting to see. Speaking of Elijah and Haley, Elijah had his own separate plot in this. Elijah was basically in the swamp the whole time, just like freaking out. He's having, he's just very miserable, and she's trying to make him as comfortable as she can, but it doesn't seem to be happening because he keeps coughing, and every time he, coughs or something, he has this vision of this girl, Celeste. He even calls Haley Celeste at one point, which I definitely thought was interesting the way that all worked. And what we basically find out is that Celeste was this girl who Elijah was in love with before Haley. This was way before Haley. It was back in the times when they were alive first. Klaus actually was the one. I think they showed that Klaus killed her or something like that. All we know is that she drowned and she's not alive anymore, and it's something that is stuck in his head, and he needs to get it out and everything. And I thought that was definitely very interesting, what's going on. Then what happens is, she sees that they're being watched by someone, and she sees this woman in the tree, and it turns out that woman is actually, this girl. It's actually this girl named, what was her name? It's this girl named, what was her name? Oh, Eve. It was this girl named Eve. Eve basically is there to tell Haley that, she asks why he's there trying to put his family back together and everything. And, basically what happens is this girl's there and she's talking to Haley and everything. We find out that girl is actually a member of Haley's family. It was definitely very interesting to see that. I'm wondering where this is going to go. I do think this is going to go somewhere that we don't really expect it to. And I definitely am interested in seeing where they're going to go with this. But I definitely think it was really cool to see this. And I definitely really enjoyed this plot. So I thought this was really cool too. And I definitely really enjoyed this plot as well. Especially the whole thing with Celeste. I thought that was really cool the way that was all done. The flashbacks in this episode, by the way, were amazing as usual. They always do a great job of that. The only other thing we have to talk about is Cammy, who was back in this episode. Seems like she's like in every other episode. Like she's not in one episode, then she's back in the next episode. That just seems what they do with Cammy. She has this like weird picture basically. That's what it is. She has this weird picture, and she can't really figure out what this code is. And we see that man Kieran, who's basically trying to help her crack this code. And, she doesn't really know what the code is all about. She's just really not sure. And Klaus actually was talking to Kieran, and Klaus offers him his flask and says the liquor will wake the dead. Kieran takes it and sips. Klaus tells him he's there to talk about Cammy. And Kieran says he knows it was vampire problems. And, Klaus tells her that she can't find out what happened to her brother, or else she'll dig and dig and dig, and it'll end up being the death of her. Because we know what happened to her brother. Because we know, she does know that Klaus was the one to, kill the person. She just doesn't know who it was. And Cammy's screwing the graffiti of her brother's grave when Kieran stops by. He says that people need time to heal, and they haven't gotten over that her brother killed innocent people. Cammy says she thinks she's losing it and says she found this in her pocket. It's a note written to herself in the same secret code, and I said that already. And basically, she ends up cracking the code. And what that code says is Klaus Piku Yan 1919, and it's a photo of Klaus and Marcel. And it's just both of them. So I don't know where this is going to go. It kind of came out of nowhere. It was a little bit weird with this plot, but I mean, it definitely is going to go somewhere pretty cool, I think, and I definitely would like to see where this is going to go. So yeah, basically, that's how the episode ended. And I definitely really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was a good episode. It wasn't as good as the last episode, but I definitely really enjoyed it. Thought there were some very interesting things. And let me know what you guys saw of this episode. Do you think that now Klaus is going to, force Haley to stay here? Or is she going to try to leave? I don't think Haley essentially wants to be there. What about Elijah and Celeste? Do you think that, what else is going to happen there? And what's the big thing with Eve? I mean, I know she's a member of Haley's family, but what's the real reason that she's watching her? Why is she really watching her? And what does that code mean? What does that picture mean even? What is that picture? I don't really know what that means, but that's it for this review. Oh, also, is Marcel going to rebel against Klaus, or do you think that whole thing of trying to, get rid of Klaus is over? Do you think Marcel's kind of afraid of Klaus? I think he is, but that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.